Good morning, coffee lovers, and welcome to a video all about cost of labour in the coffee shop industry. As you know, coffee shops, it's really difficult to actually maintain profitability, and it's a balance with one of the most expensive assets in the business, which is team. So how do we balance having a great team, having the team in the business when we need it, and managing the cost of labour? I'm going to break it down. I'm going to go through it with you right now. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Richard, and I've been a professional in the hospitality industry for many years. I'm trying to think now, roughly, God, I used to say 30, but now I could probably say 34, roughly, thereabouts, 34 years. I'm a general manager in this industry since maybe 20 years now. So lots of experience managing P&L and KPIs and targets and pressure and running hands-on a coffee shop business. So my last coffee shop, which I spent a number of years in, was actually within Manchester Airport for Costa Coffee. I've just recently finished that role. But I was in there for a long time. It's the second highest turnover store in the UK. So we're talking of upwards of £80,000 a week as a net figure. We're talking about 30 team members. We're talking about a 24-hour operation, running fast, running hot all the time, never stops. It's like an entity of its own. So I've run that store, and then looking back from that, I've run high street, I've run drive-through, I've run village stores, small towns, all coffee shops, all within the brand. So this really is following on from my business plan video. So within the business plan, there is the P&L, there is the operation, how we're going to operate, what we're going to do, what we're trying to achieve, what products are we going to sell, what does the operation look like, and how does it fit in to the finance model or the P&L model that we've created. So it's the brew and bean, and I created a model that said high street or town, footfall 2,000 to 3,000 people, serving 250 people a day, revenue of a net revenue of just under £10,000. And I tried to create a P&L that then would reflect that profitability, and the profitability was around about a 13% return, which was absolutely bang on industry standard. And I've done this by making sure that the controls are in place, controls on cost of labour, controls on overhead costs like rent, like gas, electric, to make sure that the unit was not too big, that the unit was not too expensive, that the cost of labour was fine, that the products that I was selling fell within expected parameters for gross profit. So I've looked at all of those things, and I'm going to show you how you work out now and how to best deploy your team within your store to maximize the efficiency and also deliver that brilliant customer service that you need to deliver in order to get a return, in order to grow your business so your customers are satisfied and your customer base is growing. It's all about making a profit at the end of the day and providing a great service. Okay, so I've scooched across to this side of the screen only because then I'm going to put some things on here to show you what I'm talking about, how I'm looking at it. So basically, in the first instance, we're looking at average weekly sales. So you can look at your past 6 weeks of weekly sales and look at that into real depth. So where do you get that information from? Well, you'll get it from your till record or your back of house stock management system. So you have a look at that. Within Costa, there's a back office system that's really good. I've worked in many branded environments where they have a really good back office that you can dial into from your laptop anywhere in the world, and you can see basically how much money you're taking every day, every hour, every week. And you can look back as far as you want to, and you can look at the same week last year so that you can see then and track whether you're up on sales or down on sales, and what your expected sales are going to be around Christmas time, around peak trade times, holidays, kids holidays, things like that, and how it impacts you. And you can forecast then correctly, because forecasting next week, the week after that, really important for the business, because you need to see and be forecasting the business direction, and then you can schedule accordingly. And then if you don't quite hit the mark, you can pull your team hours back early in the week, or if you really think that your business is growing, and you can include then and add in more hours as you go to make sure that you're staying in line. But I'm basically working on a £100 net for every team hour. That doesn't include management hours. So we're looking at having a manager in store on a 45-hour-a-week contract. We're expecting that of those 45 hours, 39 hours is on the shop floor and 6 hours is admin. And that works really well. It's a good balance, because yes, there's admin to do, yes, there's scheduling to do, yes, forecasting, stock management, but within those 6 hours, there is enough time to do those things. The only time when it's not is if there's a meeting expected, or if you need a stock take doing after hours, then there needs to be hours added into the team hours to cover those. So we're looking at average weekly sales. So we can either go on what did we do last week, and we're saying that last week we turned over a net figure of 9,660, and then we look at then the individual days and we see how much money we're making on average each day, and whether that trend is going up or whether that trend is decline. So if the trend is increase, we know that within our plan we need to be forecasting for more money. So if week on week we were making say 5% or 10% more, then we need to plan for that. Okay, so labour cost. We need to work out exactly how many team hours we need. And so we know for 9,600, if it was one labour hour for every £100, then we're looking at around about 96, 97 hours, maybe 95 if we want to pull it back a little bit. So we work out, as you can see from the little picture that I've inserted there, you can see the daily hours, you can see the daily volume of trade that I've worked in. I think it's around about average for what you'd expect. But you can see how it kind of drops on a Tuesday and Wednesday, and then it works up through the weekend. And then Monday, still quite busy, but not as busy. So what we've done there is I've looked at how many hours we need each day and made sure that they're kind of in line with, so Monday, 9 team hours plus 8 hours from the manager. Is that enough to run a 12-hour operation? And I think it probably is right. And I also looked at Sunday as well. So I looked at Monday being kind of an average day, and I looked at Sunday being a busy day, and I've worked out that yes, 21 team hours for 2,100 plus a manager hour is absolutely fine, absolutely spot on. Okay, so we've worked out now exactly how many hours we need per day and how many total hours, so what the total cost will be per week. And we're going to now look at labour efficiency and day shape. And that's really, really important, is that you look at, okay, so on Monday, I'm going to take a net figure of £900 in the Broom Bean. So how do I schedule enough people to cover the peaks? And then where are the peaks? So I'm going to break down my day. So I'm going to go to my back office system. I'm going to look at Monday, and I'm going to look at my sales per hour. And when I do that, I can see how much money we're taking per hour. And you can see now from my graph, I've plotted, I've made a little graph. It doesn't take long to do. And I've kind of plotted in there the shape of day. So you can see morning peak, you can see lunch peak, and you can see the evening peak. So 3 peaks a day is what I'm forecasting, and how much money per hour I think I'm going to take, I forecast that as well. And that's based on the evidence that I've seen in my back office system. Now, I've got enough experience in the industry that if this business was brand new, I would very quickly be able to tell whether that peak was going to be enough money, whether we needed to increase that, whether the morning peak was bigger, but then the kind of sales fell off then through the rest of the morning, or whether the morning peak came in, it kind of dropped a little bit, and then lunchtime peak came in, but lunchtime wasn't as high as morning. It depends where you're located. So if you're out of town and if you bought maybe a drive-through premises, then you know that your morning peak is going to be probably the strongest part of the day. Yes, you're going to have a lunch peak, but not as important. It's not as important to deliver in the morning as it is in the afternoon. Really important. So yeah, so now you can see that we've formed a shape of day for the Brew and Bean. So this is for the high street. We know that it's probably going to be a lunchtime peak. It's probably going to be kind of after school when everything calms down and mums have taken the kids to school, or people have come into the office and they come out for meetings, and then that lunchtime peak really starts to hit. And then we're going to see the fall off again in the afternoon, and then I think we're probably going to see some after school hits, after school and evening hits, and by 6 o'clock you're going to see that tail off. So you'll see that line has given me a day shape, and the amount of money that we're going to take in every hour is there, so that I know then if I'm looking at my lunch peak and I'm saying I'm going to have £150 an hour roughly, then I know that I need, it doesn't quite, 1.5 people. So I may have somebody coming to the end of their shift and somebody coming into their shift at that time, so that I've always got 2 people or maybe 3 people through that lunch peak, enough to cover, and then it drops down again. So I'm going to have a couple of people in the morning, maybe a couple of people through lunch peak, and then dropping down to maybe 1 person going through the close. Okay, so I've now boosted my graph a little bit by adding in the shifts that I want on that day to cover the peaks that I need. So this is all about delivering on profitability. It's also about delivering service. So I know that in the morning, a peak of £100, somebody experienced in the industry, the manager is absolutely key in delivering those sales and being able to manage that. So if your average transactional value was £5 and you've got £100 coming in the hour, that's 20 drinks. That's all. 20 drinks, or 20 coffees and toast, coffees and maybe a toastie, some breakfast item, pastry, something like that, then that's really, really easy to deliver for 1 person, and the manager should absolutely smash that on a Monday. And then as we go through the afternoon, so as that peak starts to drop in the morning, I've brought in a team member, and the reason for that is to reset. So you have your morning rush and then you need to reset. So really, really, really important that I used to call it like the second close, because it was like doing the close jobs that we needed to do. So we're resetting any impulse, we're resetting the cakes, we're resetting the tables. Obviously we're not mopping, obviously, but we're really making sure that business is ready for the next peak. And then there's 2 team members. So we have to also understand that during that drop-off time, there might be a break that was required, something may need to happen, there may be ordering that needs to be placed, so that you need those 2 people. So a team member comes in 10 till 2, just for a 4, or 10 till 2:30 because they get a break, or maybe 10 till 2, and then you've got that cover to make sure the ordering is done, make sure the other jobs are done, and then we've got the shift leader who's going to lock up at night. He or she is coming in then at 1 o'clock. So you've got the 2 guys there in the morning picking up that kind of 11 o'clock uplift in sales through to lunchtime, and then till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then you've got 3 people just for an hour just to cover that drop off. And then you've got your shift leader then, who's more than capable of dealing with the evening peak and dealing with the close down, because at the end of the day the business is not taking the money to employ somebody else. Ideally it'd be great to have 2 people through that close, but it makes more sense to have that third person covering the middle of the day. It makes so much more sense, so that then by the time that person goes home, you've really delivered on all the expectations of your lunchtime customers. Okay, so moving on from Monday, I'm going to look at Sunday, which is one of the busiest days of the week in my forecast. I'm going to have a look and see how that fits in to our schedule now. So looking at the labour efficiency and looking at the shape of day, what I've done on this first slide is I've plotted all the peak hours. I've plotted all the hours throughout the day, and then I've made my shape. So what I've done is I've just drawn it on with the pen. So you can see the shape of day, you can see where the peaks and the troughs are. And then moving on to labour efficiency, you can see where I've then added the team members in to make the total number of operational hours used. So on 2100 we're using 21 hours of team and 9 hours or 8 hours of manager hours within that day as well. So we've got a 12-hour operation. We're going to use 29 hours of labour total, and I've split that between 4 people. So we have 2 in the morning covering the breakfast peaks, and then I have somebody coming in, so the manager is actually not on the morning because I've recorded the peak of the day to be at lunchtime. So I'm expecting lunchtime trade to be the biggest part of the day. And then because that shape of day drifts off, or the sales drift off, not quite a rapid descent or rapid decline in sales, because they drift back, I've put the manager on the close. With a team member. So we've got a shift leader opening in the morning, we've got a team member with him as peak sales start to come in through the day, through the lunchtime trade. We have the manager and then a team member. So covering that peak time, we have 4 members of staff. And then as it starts to slide throughout the afternoon, then we go down to 2 members of staff, 1 manager and 1 team member through to the close. And that really looks like it's covering every aspect that we need throughout that day. So we're saying basically that through the peak times we're going to take £300 an hour, sort of 4 people that are covering that time period. It's really important that we have 4 people there, so 1 person for every role within the building. And then, like I say, as the peak trade then starts to drop and sales start to decline for the rest of the day, then we're seeing that, you know, as we're on a high street or in a town, as the shops around us start to close, and they close earlier on a Sunday, they're expecting the sales to decline in line with that. So by 6 o'clock we should be empty, pretty much, with really minimal sales of maybe £20 in that last hour. But yeah, so we're maximizing our efficiency throughout with the hours that we have, with the money that we're having coming into the building, to still make the business profitable. And it works. You can see that it works. On a screen, it works, but having actually worked that in practice, I know that it works. So as we've gone through this process, you will have seen that we're trying to maximize really our team hours versus money coming into the building, so that we're not overspending, so that our labour percentage is hitting at 16%. That's industry standard, 16%, and that we're delivering a profitable business, and the sort of return on investment is 12-13%, which the P&L is absolutely reflective of this, where there's some flexibility. So when I've looked at my model, what I've done is I've put a salary in, and it's a heavy salary for a manager, but the salary is reflective of owner operator. So where it's not an owner operator, so at the moment we're saying that 13% return, which is around about £5,000 a month, 4.5 maybe. I've not looked at the figures right now. Where you've got that owner operator, so the owner operator salary is 42,000 that I've put into the P&L. The only way that you can gain some flexibility on that is to reduce the owner operator salary. So if the owner operator salary was at a level of £10,000 less, so we're looking at £32,000, which is kind of more reflective really a business of this side, you'd be looking at paying a manager, if you weren't the owner operator, of maybe 29 to 32,000. I would probably suggest that you go on the upper level of that. It's not because that I think that people should be paid more to manage coffee shops. Yes, they should be paid well, but if they're really expert in their field and they're really going to deliver, I'd rather pay more money and have somebody that really delivers rather than less money and pay somebody that just keeps ticking it over. I want somebody really focused. And in our industry, if we want them really focused, the best way to get that is to pay them well. Simple as that. You pay somebody with experience, you're going to get that quality of management, that quality of customer service, that really good quality standard of expectation and delivery of target. You want all these things, you're going to have to pay for it. So from the point of view that, okay, we're going to pay somebody 32,000, that leaves 10,000 spare that I can either then put that into the return on the investment, or I can say, okay, I can reinvest that in team hours. And if I reinvest that in team hours, it gives me 14 hours a week. I think roughly, if we're looking at the calculation, around about 14 hours a week that I can then put into my team hours. We can use those 14 hours at any point during the week that we think that there's gaps, or we can say, okay, we're going to spread them across the year in a different way. So it might be we're looking at redeploying those hours when half term hits, redeploying those hours through Christmas, through maybe Easter when sales increase. So you can look at all of those things. Maybe we need to redeploy those hours when our team members are on holiday, or we keep them to one side in case there's sickness, or we just keep the money to one side, put it through as return on investment, and then if there's any major maintenance issues or machine breakdown or equipment breakdowns, the money in the pot then to replace those items without it hurting the business too much, so that the cash flow remains the same. So I really hope you've enjoyed this segment on cost of labour. I hope that I've been able to provide you with some insights about how much your labour should be costing, where you should deploy people, and how to work out where to best place people within the business. And if I was you, I'd really sit down and think about creating that day shape for every day of the week, and I would repeat doing that as my sales increase or my sales decrease. I would certainly do that when it comes to peak trading times, and just really dive as deeply as you can into cost of labour, because it is the most expensive part of the business when you put aside things like rent. And rent isn't linked to performance, is it? You know, whereas team really is linked to performance, and it's really linked to business success, because if you have the right team in the right place at the right time, then you're going to satisfy your customers, you're going to grow your business, and the people that are coming to you are going to go and recommend you as a business to other places. So you've got to get your product right, you've got to get your team members right. There's so many things you need to do, but part of that is correct deployment, is really labour efficiency, day shape. You know, all of these things are so important, even in a business that's only turning over £10,000, just under £10,000 a week. You get it right, you're going to grow that business, and you're going to put probably £6,000 on the top line. The more money you earn, the more profit you can make, obviously, but at the same time, the more you can give back to the community that you're working in by employing people from that community. So really get your business right in to the middle of the heart of that community. Like I said before, my name's Richard, and I've been a professional in this area for a long time. I'm now working separate to Costa Coffee. I'm now working on my own. I'm a consultant in this area, and I can do some workshops with you. If you're really interested, then please just drop me an email. I don't charge the earth, but we do coaching sessions. I'll do a P&L overview. We'll look at your business plan. We'll look at everything to do with your business in terms of cost. We can work out I can work out your efficiency if you want me to. I can dive into any part of that business that you want me to dive into. I can do that for you. Just drop me an email. I will send you a PDF of my booking availability and related charges, and we can go from there. I mean, we're not talking about something that's going to cost you the earth. We're talking about a small cost in relation to your business. So even if you're a business startup, you haven't got a premises yet, but you're putting a business plan together and you've got plans, I can help you with that. If you're an existing business and you want someone to look at your cost of labor, I can help you with that. So anything to do with a coffee shop business, anything to do with that, drop me an email, and we can go from there, and we can fix anything. Even if your business is kind of not returning the level of profit that you need, or your business is growing and you want to be in a position to be able to grow that business and open a second or a third or a fourth store, I can help you with that. I can help you look at your business profitability and see where the issues lie and what we can tweak to really deliver that level of profit that you need to invest. So thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it. I would really appreciate any subscribes, any likes, any comments. I can get back to you straight away. But for now, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.